What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another episode of The Kingdom Says. We have got a full crew in the building tonight for tonight's episode here. I am your usual co-host, Garrett Williams, and joining me, we've got many men on the screen. If you're listening, you should definitely go watch us on YouTube. You can see all these beautiful faces. We've got Kyle Henning on the top right of the screen. How we doing tonight, Kyle?
Oh, doing all right. All kinds of fun things going on in a week in March. Chief stuff.
Yeah.
You know, good time for the NFL calendar to be full-fledged dominating everything that's going on.
Yep. Also joining us, bottom left of the screen, Mr. Arrowhead Tom. How we doing tonight, Tom?
Hey, I'm doing great. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. You know, I talked right before the show. I was talking to our good friend, the artist chief, Corey Jones, and he has agreed to paint a portrait of every player that is connected via rumor to the Chiefs.
Wow.
Can we list it to real, actual connected rumors? Otherwise, he's going to have
every single one. Yeah. So we're gonna dig up that old tweet of Matt Connor, my friend over at AA, who said that we were going to trade for Baker Mayfield and Pat Mahomes. Yep, we're going to get a jersey swap. We're doing everything. He's going to paint. No, but seriously though, shout out to our friend Corey. I told him I'd say hi. We'll have him back here soon. But if you're not following Corey, make sure you are. But I'm doing great. Got to chat with him. Got to chat with you guys. It's been a good evening of just talking Chiefs football all night. And when there's not football to watch, that's about the next best thing I can do.
It's like you've been talking about draft stuff. Is that a teaser, Tom?
Kyle, does that sound like something I would do? Does it sound like I would spend an hour?
It would make us sound mildly professional for once, so I wish you would do it if that was a teaser.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes, Kyle. Previous to this recording, the esteemed Randy Ellenberger and I sat down and recorded.
Who's that? Oh, he's right there.
Of content on the Kingdom Recon podcast. If you're interested in our thoughts about the NFL Combine.
New episode coming soon for that. But we have Mr. Randy joining us tonight. How we doing tonight, Randy?
Doing awesome. Just another fun-filled and exciting night. Get to hang out with you guys and talk some Chiefs football and try to figure out this ball of madness that we call the off season that we have no idea which way it's going to go until it actually goes that.
Yeah. So that's a big part of the time right now because there's a lot of conversations, rumors, just everything under the sun, and it's very undecided time. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight about some of the things that have actually happened, things that we expect to happen, some free agency news. The NFL Combine just recently finished up, which is what the Kingdom Recon episode was mostly about. We're going to hold off a little longer until we talk purely about draft prospects, mostly because for the Chiefs and for most teams, free agency really is going to determine a lot of what happens in the draft for these folks. So we've got to address that first. We have some housekeeping to do in-house with some guys and some notable news that recently came out that, I guess the first domino in this whole thing to fall for the Chiefs off season being placing the franchise tag on L'Jarius Sneed officially. This is reported probably being a thing the entire time. And when it was initially reported, it was basically said that, hey, Sneed and his team has been given permission to seek a trade or explore the waters, test the waters, see what's out there. So now here we are officially with the franchise tag placed on Sneed. And still a lot of uncertainty. Still definitely a lot of uncertainty. Kyle, I know there's a report that after.
So let's go through some of the things we do know because there's less uncertainty. There's a bunch of uncertainty, but less so because our friend Nate Taylor over at The Athletic, over at Only Weird Games for KC Sports Network with Josh and Seth. I'm sure most of you that watch this have found that by now. If you haven't, you should. Nate has been working with Diana Rossini of, good God, which is she still at ESPN?
I think she's at ESPN still.
I don't know. They move around so often. I can't.
I think she's at ESPN still.
I think she's still at ESPN. But either way, it's Diana Rossini. And they've been working on the Sneed stuff for a couple of weeks now, I think, from the sounds of everything Nate said. I know they were working on it through the combine because they talked about it on the last episode. And today's episode, Nate reported news. We have a list of teams. Now, there's a 6th mystery team. We do not know the 6th team because they are not currently involved in the discussions. They were at one point. They may be again, but at this moment, per Nate, they are not. So we don't know that name, but we do know the other 5. And those are Detroit. We went over this before the show, guys. I thought I was going to get some help here.
Oh, I thought you were just right.
Oh, it was a guessing game.
Yeah, we were.
I thought you were just going to tell us.
The guessing game was before the show. We did all the guessing. We did all the guessing.
Yeah, but I thought you were just going to tell us.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's
So
boring.
Detroit.
Right.
Detroit.
Minnesota.
Yep.
Atlanta.
Patriots.
Yeah, the Patriots is the oddball that nobody really. I know I wasn't there. So Atlanta and the Patriots. The 5th team is the one that I find most interesting. The Patriots was out of absolute now. New coach, new personnel person, obviously, because the head coach was the personnel guy before, and Bill Belichick. So, whole bunch of new things in New England. They may, and Nate literally said they may do something crazy. If they like L'Jarius, they're interested. It makes sense. Yeah. They want to build a defense, and Gerard Mayo, I believe, is the head coach now, and that's going to be his calling card. So go get you a piece. But I just wasn't expecting to see them there. It would be very interesting to see what the capital looks like there. Now, Nate mentioned a bunch of scenarios of different capital, a 2nd, a 3rd and a 6th, a 3rd and a 5th, depending on which teams. There's some things there. Of note, mentioned there was another franchise. There's other franchise tags placed around the league on players, and one of those players plays for the 5th team in the Indianapolis Colts, and Michael Pittman Jr. There, it wasn't said directly on this part as far as the compensation, but I'll put it this way: Seth and Josh both sat directly up when Nate said the Colts and hinted at a franchise tag player being involved, because they would basically be swapping 1-for-1 corner for wide receiver. I don't think you're going to get a lot of additional compensation there either direction. Maybe you get a late rounder. I know Tom has grand plans and dreams of a situation with Detroit and with Pittman, with Indy kind of being similar. It's not going to happen. I love you. It's not going to happen.
Well, so here's my thing.
That's super interesting because that doesn't happen in the NFL like ever. First of all, you very rarely ever see player for player trades like
that
ever.
Is true.
You also very rarely see franchise tagged players swapped for one another. Probably one of the first things. So it's just from all of the scenarios, all the things discussed, all the things that he reported from the 5 teams, from the potential compensation windows, that being brought up is an equation I didn't think was going to happen. And there's also one additional piece to the L'Jarius news. Garrett reported the tag and trade information and all that. The other addition was Ian Rappaport reported yesterday. One of the,
I think it was yesterday.
In the last 48 hours. That if they couldn't get a deal done and that the compensation wasn't proper, that L'Jarius could play on the tag. That's a sentence we had not heard from anybody previously. Interesting that Ian Rappaport
is the one first time anybody had ever mentioned that, because that whole thing was that initially they reported that Sneed was given permission to either seek a trade or they were going to try to get a long-term deal.
5 options.
And Tom, what do you think, Tom?
Okay, I'm gonna circle back to this Indianapolis one because I have issues with that for a couple of reasons. One, we've talked about the Chiefs. Like, if you trade for Pittman, you have to pay Pittman. And if you're going to pay a wide receiver, Michael Pittman's fine, but he's just fine. He's not like it's not
a pretty good player. He is a pretty good player. You would love Michael Pittman.
He's a good player, but I think that there's a very clear ceiling with him.
He went to USC. I mean, come on.
I knew you were going to bring that up. I think that there's a very clear ceiling.
I don't like him because he went to USC, and I would
happily,
and I would Michael Pittman pay him. I would have
a very nice compliment receiver.
Hold on. So let's really think about.
Go ahead and say it.
How that breaks down. Because so now we're talking about trading a all-pro caliber cornerback for a okay, for starters, I will say I think there's a talent discrepancy between the two. If in a complete vacuum, if we're having a draft today, right, and we're nobody else on my rosters, I can pick 1 or 2 of those players, everything else equal, I'm taking L'Jarius Sneed every day of the week over Michael Pittman.
Okay,
I think
that's
you're talking all pro versus Pro Bowl level player.
You're talking position of need versus not a position of need currently. You're talking about different dollar amounts, especially with the wide receiver, and the value difference between what L'Jarius is going to get paid on the open market versus what Pittman may get paid on the open market. And you're talking about a value difference in just capital from the position difference alone, especially because it's a position of need.
So again, you would have to pay him.
Mm-hmm.
You create another need.
Pay him what, Tom? How much is too much? 20 is too much?
21 is too much? Paying pretty close to what you would have paid Sneed. Let's see.
Okay.
Hold on. Let's see what his
I think it's 21 million is what everybody's kind of
let's see what his contract projection would be. A deal between 22 and 25 million should get it done.
21 and a half is what I saw earlier. But yeah,
I mean, you make a fair point of that. You're paying someone regardless. You know, if you do the 1-to-1 trade. Now, wide receiver is definitely more of a need, but also trading for draft capital saves you the entire, way of spending
on a lottery ticket that you don't know is going to be any good. And we're talking about Andy Reid's offense and being a veteran and not being. With wide receivers, I was told he was god awful until Rashee Rice popped out of a bubble.
He's at least one
that's because he finally listened to me and he took some.
Like 1.5 for 3, 1.5 for 4. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So hold on. Let me finish this thought because it's not
hold the half.
Yeah. So you swap franchise tag players. Okay. Pretty rare, but things happen. I see on the surface level the logic, but again, you still have to pay them, so you don't necessarily help yourself cap wise. The other part of that is, so let's just say they're happy with their cornerback room. We're not creating a hole by trading L'Jarius Sneed. I'm sure they're confident in the guys that they have, and again, they have Najee Johnson coming back, who all reports were that he was in line to get starting snaps. Like, I understand, as much as I love Sneed, I understand why it makes some sense to capitalize and grab some more picks, or to make some type of move.
Or a proven player.
One, and this is where we'll probably disagree. My personal opinion of Michael Pittman is that he is a good player, not the greatest player. Not somebody that I would get. I mean, I wouldn't hate him, but I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, Michael Pittman, heck yeah. I wouldn't run out and buy his jersey tomorrow. Not to be a hater.
Maybe should. Maybe should though.
But I should, right?
Now you gotta save that money for Xavier.
I'm looking at some of his numbers. I'm going, okay, yeah, da da da. So
listen, Pittman would be you'd be a decent.
You essentially break even. You essentially break even with that, which isn't the worst thing.
Maybe you get a little compensation also. Maybe you get throw the 6th or 7th in.
I would want like a 4th or a 5th. Because I think there is a talent gap. I think there's a positional.
Yeah, and definitely it comes down to like what the Colts need more so than anything. Because I mean, the Chiefs are kind of in a good position where obviously they're the dealer, so they're.
So again, I'm not going to boycott the team if that was the move. I trust Beach to make smart things.
Randy, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on it, Randy?
I see the intrigue. I'm higher on Pittman than Tom is.
Yeah.
I think he's a young wide receiver in kind of the build that we've had this conversation a ton recently in the build that I prefer. I think he's more of the go-to possession, move the chains. He'll make a big play here and there, but he's reliable. He's athletic. He's proven.
Yeah.
He will cost less than Sneed in the long run when you're going to sign him to a new contract, but. I am also with Tom there. Like it's not an even swap. Like Sneed is by far a better player than Pittman is. So if you're going to trade player for player, you're going to have to get something on the back end as well to kind of make that a little sweeter deal for us. But it is intriguing. You know, it's an intriguing thought, but
it's intriguing.
I'll tell you the same thing I told Tom. The expectations for the trade value for L'Jarius Sneed by this fan base, by people that are doing the analysis, largely is overinflated, except for a couple of folks who have been brutally honest. You're not getting player in a second. You're not getting player in a third. You're not getting player in a fourth. You're probably not getting player in a fifth. You might get player in a sixth. Mike,
I want to clarify. I just don't want player.
That's just
I'd rather have.
And that's my
I'd
biggest
rather
problem
have
with
their
your
second
entire
round
argument.
pick.
That's my biggest problem with your entire argument. You would rather have an absolute lottery ticket that could be Sky Moore again, or it could be Kadarius Toney, or it could be everybody's problem here, or I can have 88 catches for 1,082 yards and 6 touchdowns, 99 catches for 925 yards and 4 touchdowns, and 109 catches, 1,152 yards and 4 touchdowns. And those are with quarterbacks that all of you would like to, that we've buried, shoveled dirt on, or are backups. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
And without other options next to him, because we're not even going to talk about the other receivers that exist in Indianapolis, because you can't. Their offense was Jonathan Taylor and him.
That second
round pick could be a second round pick. Oh my God, it could be a boat.
Michael Pittman Jr. Yeah.
Like, it could be a boat. Yeah, it could even be. Listen,
the Family Guy joke. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the preference of receiver, it's fair to say, outside of a 1-to-1 swap or whatever, a player trade,
the actual proven commodity, a discussion, because it just I know you guys love the draft, but you lose the value argument every time, because I could get a scratch ticket, or I could get the prize that I can see and look at and put my hands on and feel and have evidence of.
But it could be a boat. You got, and if Xavier Worthy is that boat, you might listen. You might do some things.
And you still, by the way, have picks to go draft another receiver in the draft.
Listen. All right, so we get it. You know, the Colts.
Mooney, and then Randy's gonna get in here.
Oh no!
Oh no! Don't get him started. Okay, so listen.
I think declare this early in the show.
The other problem, the only reason I brought it up, the Indy one is most interesting, is because all the rest of them involve strictly draft picks. I don't think anybody else is offering a player.
Well, Tom, you had an idea. God. You had an idea. Detroit. It was one of those.
We are manifesting it. It's going to happen.
The Tom had an idea. I'll lay it out for you here. It's Jameson Williams, another young and promising wide receiver who's missed some time. He has missed some time in the league. Tom has a grand manifestation. Maybe we can get him in a trade. Yeah. Listen, at least the thing with the Pittman trade, really for me, is that you're still paying a guy versus at least Jameson Williams is still on his rookie deal. That's a benefit for you. We'll see. We will see what kind of trade scenarios might pop up for old L'Jarius Sneed.
What was the other part of that deal, Tom?
A first round pick this year, a first round pick next year.
The one you actually said.
I said I would, in a perfect world, what I said was manifesting. This is I would get a tattoo of Brett Veach on my lower abdomen. Would be if they could pull a second, because that's a late second, right?
It's a late second, basically a third.
Well, and I can live with their third, but let's give me your second and Jameson, and we'll call it good. But
yeah, I couldn't have my face on the screen when you said that, so because I didn't need to be, it couldn't be fun.
Only because, again, you have a chance to do some reclamation project stuff, and I get it, proven commodity. My thing is, you still got to pay him, and then you're in another position where you have a bunch of other contracts next offseason that you have to figure out, right?
Putting another contract on the books does. And
then right after that, you got to remember, coming up after that, you're going to have George and McDuffie and that whole group that was phenomenal. Like, you're not going to keep all those guys.
$2 million a year, right?
Yeah. But you don't want to keep all those guys, but you want to be able to keep some of those core people.
Yeah.
So,
Tom, I just need to clarify: are we done talking about Jameson Williams in a second?
I would prefer that, but I would take a third. I would settle.
No, I'm just asking if we're done talking about it, so I get back on screen now because I just want to make sure.
You can come back now.
Listen, okay, let's transition here. I want to transition here to a part that Kyle brought up earlier. The Ian Rappaport tweet mentioning that the Chiefs might be comfortable with L'Jarius Sneed playing on the tag. Kyle, why would they be comfortable potentially with him playing on the tag?
Do you want the good news or the bad news?
Kyle, what do you think? What are you thinking, Kyle?
Do you want the good news or the bad news?
Well, let's hear both sides because there's two possibilities that really stem from this. There's two possibilities.
The first thing that jumped to my mind when I was optimistically reading that Ian Rappaport tweet, the first thing that jumped to my mind, because optimistic with Chris is my first thought, was, hey, wait a minute. That means that if they're cool with L'Jarius playing on almost $20 million, that they're close to having a deal done with Chris that makes that fit when they restructure Patrick, because those are all happening. The Patrick restructure is happening, I should say.
Patrick restructure happening.
So that's a really optimistic way to look at that. There's the other side of that coin, though, that's not so rosy of an outlook that I thought about, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours later. That could also mean that they're so far away from a deal with Chris that they're cool with L'Jarius playing on the tag if they don't get good enough offers, because there's going to be plenty of room.
Because there's going to be some space with no Chris. Right.
So
it's either they're close or they're not even close.
And then, of course, we have Twittergate. I mean, social media cryptic tweet season.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Garofolo. Now, Mike's a great guy. He's an insider journalist person at NFL Network, I believe, for the league. He was talking to James Palmer, and I think Steve Weish was the other guy. And with about 7,805 words, hinted / by the end of it said, and I think this was pretty much a direct quote, I'm trying to find a way to say the Raiders without saying the Raiders. There's a potential that, hey, Mark Davis would write an extraordinarily large check to get him away from Kansas City. Now, will that check cash? That's a separate subject for another day. Ask Khalil Mack. But all of the AFC West teams need pass rush and need D-line help, and the Raiders have the budget to do it because they're going to have most likely a rookie quarterback of some variety, unless they get a wild hair and go Kirk Cousins hunting. But
Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson.
Oh, please, God, put Russell in the AFC West again, please.
Imagine just goes from one ship to the other in the AFC West, and it's like,
also,
all right,
if you're Russell, but if you're Russell, you're like, what? Because if he gets signed by another team, I'm signing for like nothing.
That man, yeah.
Broncos are paying me a godly amount of money.
$39 million this year. Yeah.
For the next 2 years combined, it is a total of $85 million in dead cap guaranteed.
Yeah, he got traded there. They signed an extension. That extension hasn't even hit yet.
So. Yeah, he got cut before it's kicked in, which is just a master class in work there.
Just an absolutely beautiful job by the Broncos organization.
But legitimately, the Chris Jones to the Raiders talk, I mean, it's a feasible option. But the reason that Mike Garofolo said 8,700 words to say it is because it's basically a rumor and like a logical deducing of, hey, I mean, they could do this.
Yeah, almost more like
and that's fine.
Yeah,
it's trade. This is the season for that stuff.
Yeah.
The problem was somebody decided in a Chiefs avatar decided to quote tweet that and tag players. Which, guys, I don't know how many times we have to talk about this, but please stop tagging players in tweets. Unless you were being very nice and complimentary, and even then, you could be doing that, and somebody can come into your tagged player tweet and ruin that whole thing.
Yeah,
it's better just to not tag them in.
Yeah, that do happen.
As a matter of fact, it was over an article that our friend Charles Goldman wrote, and then Charles had to go on and be like, "Hey, don't tag players around my work and stuff because that's not cool, dummies."
Yeah. So luckily for Chiefs fans, many reports, especially after the combine, because as we all know, the combine, that's where a lot of talks happen. Unofficially, a lot of talks and conversations happen.
Just talking.
Yeah, it's unofficial. Just go to a steakhouse. There's a lot of steakhouses in India. I think that Yeah, I think that's the big thing.
And sauce.
I think it's like kind of the only thing you do basically. It's just you go to steakhouses, drink booze, and talk. You know,
think about that. All those Combine members covered the Super Bowl where they drank for like 2 weeks, and then they went to Indianapolis with like 4 days rest and drank for a solid week with no sleep.
Yeah.
They've had your media folks that went to Indy after covering the Super Bowl have been putting in the work for y'all. So
no kidding. But many reports out of the Combine said that the Chiefs were not only they were hopeful, but they definitely
confident. This sounds
they're pretty confident, which is different tune I think than we heard last offseason.
I need to finish the Chris Jones social media thing though, because the end of it was they tagged him and said, "If you sign with the Raiders, you're dead to us," and he responded with a handshake emoji. That's the non-news news story that you are
people act like it's a meltdown.
People are freaking out. It's all over the place, and
that's the one thing I'll say. Like, bro, who cares?
Already signed the contract.
Just don't tag players in tweets.
Yeah, and also, who cares what they tweet? Because, like, bro, it doesn't. Him tweeting a handshake doesn't mean that the entire world is burning down. People overreact so hard.
He's a wide receiver on social media.
So safe to say, I don't know. It seems by many reports, it's more than likely that Chris Jones will get a deal done.
They're aiming at the same number we thought, right? Like 29 million. That's what I keep seeing. 28.
Yeah, 28, 29. Even some reports are saying like 27, 28, which is like
which if it would have happened already. That should have happened last year.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll just probably closer to 29 is probably going to be what happens. But as we've also heard, the Chiefs aren't going to play this game forever with them, so it's going to be a pretty quick conversation. It's not going to be drawn out all offseason.
Nate on Only Weird Games, when he was talking about the L'Jarius thing, because he reported all that, and then it kind of ties with this. He did say, "Hey, the Chris thing could go up to the tampering thing. It could go all the way up to the Wednesday's start of true free agency, potentially. Because that's the last bargaining tool the player has is will somebody pay me considerably more on the open market, because he knows he's not getting tagged with Sneed being tagged. So like it's not they're I don't think they're going to go into the second phase of free agency without an answer, but I do think you can get to the start of the first wave without one.
Yeah,
let's hope we can just avoid that whole scenario.
I'd like him to sign it.
If he does get to free agency, that is just a whole another level of temptation. And
I really think
if his moronic agents would have just handled this correctly last year, we wouldn't even be in this situation. We'd be able to have Sneed. Okay. We'd be able to keep the band together. And
what happens? What happens if he hits free agency for you guys though? Like what happens? Where are we at? How do we feel?
I don't think that Brett Veach is going to sit around and wait for Chris Jones to go and field offers, and then he's not going to be left at the altar. And here's the thing: I promise you, if what Chris wants is more money, he can go find more money somewhere else. Somebody will back up the Brinks truck for him.
Yeah.
And he deserves it. He does deserve it. And you know what? We've talked about it before. He's going to be a Hall of Fame player. He's been the best D-vendor on 3 Super Bowl teams. His legacy is secured. If go do it, big guy. I don't hold that.
He's the only and best defensive consistent player on all 3 Super Bowls of a dynasty team.
Yes.
You can go ahead and book that one in Canton.
That said, I don't think so. I think we said this before the show. I've said it in the group chats. Like, if we get to Monday tampering period, and it's like, it wouldn't surprise me if we have an Orlando Brown, Jawan Taylor kind of situation where all of a sudden, hey, why isn't Orlando Brown? So, the Chiefs went and got somebody else. I know that wasn't a 1-for-1, but they definitely took that money that they had earmarked for Orlando and went, all right, you don't want it?
All right,
somebody else.
Okay, so there's a factor in this market. Justin Madubuike got tagged.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Wilkins, thank you, Chris Greer, did not get tagged.
Right.
Sure.
Chris Wilkins pretty good player.
That,
and he's 2 years younger than Chris.
Well, that's a whole nother piece, but there being another defensive tackle on the market, because there was a really good chance that Madubuike and Wilkins both got tagged, and then it's Chris, and then
nobody else.
Nope, nobody over there either.
Leonard Williams is as close as you get.
DJ Reader is the other name. Like that. No, not even in the same universe. So,
so that's gonna play a factor. That's gonna be a big factor.
Tom said the Jawan Taylor, Orlando Brown thing. That's a Christian Wilkins type of that would be a similar parallel to those two because it's a positional thing. It's this, and you know, Christian Wilkins is a very good player. He's not Chris Jones. Do not get that.
Nobody's Chris Jones. Yeah.
No. Yeah. He's a good player. He is a good player.
For me, that comes down to, okay, Chris is going to cost us 29, and Christian Wilkins is going to cost us
25,
7, 6, 5, 5.5, 6.
Christian Wilkins might cost. Hold on, because here, let's point this out. Like
24.
Chris Jones could, if he hits the open market, he's resetting the market.
He could get.
Someone's going to pay that man $32, $33 million a year.
He could get to 32 really easily, I think, on the open.
Oh yeah, somebody will do it. I think you offered Christian the same kind of offer that you're with Chris Jones right now. The moment that both those guys hit the open market, it's going to be who's going to get that.
Well, but Christian's going to hit the open market, so. Yeah, because the Dolphins aren't. So Christian's market is open now as soon as tampering starts, which started. Legal tampering starts Monday.
They're started
in Indy last week. So but
if Christian signs first, he's not resetting the market. He's not going to get more than what.
But therefore, Christian would not sign until Chris does because why would he?
Exactly.
So the Chiefs then at least have another guy kind of. Now, I wouldn't pay him what you were going to pay Chris because I don't think he's going to be the same player or has been the same player. So I would be looking to pay Christian. If I'm giving up Chris Jones at $29 million, I'm not paying Christian Wilkins more than like 25.5.
Yeah.
If you go up 25.5 million, at that point, the opportunity cost, and we're talking marketing and economics here, fun times, kids. The opportunity cost trade-off there does not move the needle enough for me to give up Chris Jones to pay Christian Wilkins $27 million. There's no way. So
I 100% agree. What you can't have
is nothing.
You can't have nothing. So if Chris Jones says, okay, well, I want to test the market. And they're going, here's $28 million that we're going to spend on a defensive tackle. And either you're going to take it or we're going to give it to Chris Wilkins. Like, that's how I...
Yeah, but you don't tell Christian Wilkins that, and you still try to pay Christian Wilkins $25 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if Chris Jones, if he waits and then Chris signs for something, then he's already going to be...
That's the nature of free agency. You can be talking to him during that. You just don't tell him you have $28 million. You tell him I've got 25.5, 26 maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
And that's why Brett Beach gets paid to do this.
Yeah, the one thing I would say with Chris Jones, I just feel like it'd be very hard for me to believe that he goes, he tests the market, the legal tampering period, and he gets a phenomenal offer. I mean, maybe he gets a phenomenal offer that really blows the Chiefs out of the water, but I feel like I don't know. He did a lot of commercials this offseason. He was really trying to compensate some of that.
He gets a lot of promo run here in Kansas City.
Yeah, I don't know. It's silly to think about because players, we all know players value money and money as their first three priorities, and rightfully so. Money. Yeah, and rightfully so. They deserve to get what they need, but it's just I have a hard time thinking that Chris Jones's agents come to him with an offer that's like $1 to $2 million more than Kansas City's, and he's like, okay, let's do that 100%. I just feel like that's...
I don't necessarily, but you're talking $4 or $5 million if you're just getting to 32, 33, because Kansas City, like I said, is at like 29, 28 and a half.
I mean, 32, if he's 32, it's 29, that's $3 million.
That's a $3 million difference. That's a huge...
And that's big, and that's significant. I just don't know. I just personally don't know if I even see that as a thing that would completely sway Chris over. If it's up like 33, 34, maybe, now we're maybe talking, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really weird process to see. It's a lot different than we saw last season.
Go ahead, Tom.
Christian Wilkins' agent, David Mulugeta, who is an actual professional agent and represents more than Chris Jones and some of his buddies.
That guy has a real job.
Yeah.
Also, the agent for Kyle Pitts, hear me out. We sign Christian Wilkins. We get Buddy Buffett as agent. We trade L'Jarius Sneed to the Falcons for a pick and Kyle Pitts. Boom. Off season done. I'm going home. Brett, call me.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
I actually wouldn't hate that. I just don't know that Atlanta likes that deal.
That's all right. They're getting Kirk Cousins. They're going to be fine, bro.
As often as they threw the ball to Kyle Pitts, they don't really like him anyway. So.
There was a report that got Kirk Cousins and Kyle Pitts were going to have to fight over who wore number 8. So they don't even have to do that. So we'll just take Kyle Pitts off your hand.
Your future quarterback. This is it. We've solved the problem.
We've solved it.
You've got my number. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, then the problem there is now and that's fine, but that I think is the Chiefs' worst case scenario, to be honest with you guys, because that would mean you lost. That would mean,
at least they have.
That means you lost both of your blue chip prospects. You lost both the centerpiece of your defense in Chris Jones, and you lost the second best player on the defense in L'Jarius Sneed in one offseason for a comp pick.
The one bright side to that whole thing is that they at least have a plan C that's happening way earlier on. Before. Yeah. They could just go out. They could just sign a big corner free agent and another. Sign a defensive tackle or. Who knows, but at least it gives them a lot more time and effort to at least replace the position.
I think they've learned their lesson from the flexibility issues they had last year.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Brett Veach ain't going to play that game again. He saw what happened last year, and he said, we're not doing that again. So,
we'll know. It said legal tampering opens Monday. So we're ticking down, my friends, ticking down.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's pretty much the biggest pieces of free agency news to talk about via
we didn't talk about
so far.
Well, I mean, there's the one other target we didn't talk about for them that had been linked and rumored, who's now not on the market either in the wide receiver conversation.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So that was a big off-season wish for some Chiefs fans. Mike Evans was set to be a free agent by reports that he would at least test the market. And
not when they paid him that much money. Good.
Yeah, then they came around to him and said, "Nah, never mind. We'll just pay
that's the only team that would have legitimately paid him that kind of money."
I saw that contract and I was like,
"Well, apparently that initial contract. I don't know if you guys saw it. The initial contract. I guess the numbers were pretty inflated from what the actual contract was. It's still a big number, but
so what are the numbers then?
I don't know. I saw
2-year, $52 million.
That's what I saw.
I don't think it's. I think it's closer to $20 million a year or something like that. From what I saw reports that the numbers were skewed. Let me try to pull that up real quick.
I got you.
Because the initial report,
29 fully guaranteed. So,
it looks like you got $20 million a year.
Yeah.
Per some reports, I don't know.
Yeah, it's what matters. 2 years, $29 million guaranteed.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, like I said, it takes one of the big
that deal out to be.
It takes one of the big free agent wide receivers off the market. So that will play a part for the Chiefs.
Yeah, they initially reported at $35 million guaranteed, but it's $29 million guaranteed. The 35, I think, kicks in. They have an out before, so they can save $6 million down the road. So
yeah, because the initial tweet was from the guy we talked about earlier, Mike Garafolo, when we talked about the Chris Jones Raiders conversation, who said it was a 2-year, $52 million deal.
Right.
Yeah. And it was actually Pro Football Talk, who, they're not the greatest, but they at least had the numbers on this one, I suppose. 2 years, $41 million, $11 million in available incentives, and $29 million fully guaranteed. So that takes the wide receiver off the market. Yeah, exactly. Who
Where's
really
the
knows?
Contract details. Where's that at? Good God.
Probably hasn't been filed yet or something. That's probably not thinking about that. But so with that kind of wraps up the Chiefs. The most free agent news that we have so far. Like I said, legal tampering is still a couple days away here. We still got some time before all that kicks in. We have a lot more to talk about in that front. Couple other Chiefs related things that came up in the news. There's just kind of funny news that that there's not much else to talk about. So the 49ers had an open defensive coordinator position after the Super Bowl. They decided to fire their head coach or their defensive coordinator that took them to the Super Bowl. Who was their defensive coordinator again?
Steve Wilkes. That dude cannot catch a break to save his life. He has been
takes him to the Super Bowl and then gets relieved of his duties. Yeah, come on. So he gets fired
in Arizona. He was in his next job for like an hour, and then, he was the interim in Carolina, and then didn't get the job, and then takes the team to the Super Bowl and gets fired in his first year. So
the 49ers decided to part ways with them, and then they went on a little interviewing spree, interviewing a couple. I don't know if we talked about it, but Dave Merritt got a interview from the 49ers to be their defensive coordinator. See, apparently, I mean, he got an interview, I guess, but
and they also apparently targeted Steve Spagnuolo, which
and then I targeted Sydney Sweeney to be my girlfriend. Doesn't mean it's happening.
All of that. There's about 1,000 things that don't make sense with this. We could go a million directions, but the one that I think jumps out to me is in the NFL, unless I'm missing something, you don't get to hire laterally from team to team traditionally. Unless that person is fired. Unless that person is fired traditionally. Now, if they talked to him before they re-signed him, now mind you, he signed the contract. He signed the contract the day of the parade.
Oh, that's true, actually. Yeah.
So that means that the Niners would have had to have
on the flight
gone
home
after him.
They probably called him on the flight home
that night on the field.
Hey, you did such a great job winning the Super Bowl. Hey, just curious though,
you want to come coach us instead?
Before you can even celebrate the Super Bowl win, actually, do you want to come work for us? Yeah.
Steve got back to.
I didn't even think about that part, Kyle. That is pretty funny. Yeah, because he signed it the day of the parade, which was like 3 days after.
Hotel room? Like what?
Yeah.
How?
Right. They got back. They're like, "What do we need to do?" What the 49ers got back to their office. They said, "What should we do to be better next year?"
They hadn't even fired Steve.
I got an idea.
Next day.
I got an idea. We'll just hire Steve Spagnuolo. That's a great idea. Let's just do that, guys.
They didn't fire Steve Wilkes until Tuesday, so they had 24-ish hours to try to.
Steve Spagnuolo got a "you up" text from Kyle Shanahan after the Super Bowl.
That's probably honestly the reports are probably that much. Like they probably called him. He probably didn't pick up, left a voicemail.
Didn't answer the phone.
Yeah. Hey, this is John Lynch. Do you want to work for us?
But then
no, I don't.
But if you did,
I'm gonna sign a contract extension.
But if you did do that, to then go to Dave Merritt and go, "Hey, your boss told us to go F ourselves without even answering the phone or whatever."
Did your boss go
to like to come work for me?
Yeah. Now, hold on. I would say this. I could see a world where Steve Spagnuolo said, "Hey, I'm not interested, but why don't you talk to my guy?"
And that may be. But
maybe.
Just the wildness to call the guy who just put the clamps on you with the defense he got to build with his guys on it, that there's a mantra and a t-shirt charity donation t-shirt. I can't. There are so many. I saw that report and I was like, is that real? I started looking to make sure the Twitter account that I was reading it from was the correct person.
Not Shetfer.
Yeah. I could not wrap my brain around what is your sales pitch? You want a bunch of dudes you didn't pick that you don't know?
Yeah. Certainly a move for the 49ers.
Yeah. So they ended up... and then Shanahan's reputation with not only just Kyle Shanahan's reputation with defensive coordinators, but his daddy's reputation with defensive coordinators that preceded him.
There's a theme.
They meddle in the defense. So you would have had to have literally had to have bought him a bank that he got to refill at his own wish whenever he told you. I don't know what else you're offering him other than
maybe you just
all
offer
of
him
the money you have available.
I don't. Designs. Yeah.
So anyway, here it is. Hold on. This was the catch. They put the very last line of Steve Spagnuolo's contract that says, "If Kyle Shanahan chokes away another lead in the Super Bowl,
one more
you're the new head coach."
That would be a good
gamble for Steve. He wants to be head coach.
He could also just go out and make sure Kyle Shanahan chokes it up. I mean, he's probably not going to have to help him, but he would have to go out and make sure it happens.
Pretty easy.
Self-sabotage that one up for a
doesn't need help.
Get back to the Super Bowl next year versus Pat Mahomes and just blitz him every down. It's like, oh yeah, that's gonna work. Yeah, do that. Yeah.
And here's the final caveat piece of the top for me for this whole thing. The topper, the cherry, the whipped cream, all of the fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know who they decided to hire after Dave Merritt and Spags apparently said no?
I believe it was like their defensive backs coach or something.
They reportedly promoted Nick Sorensen.
Yeah,
correct?
No relation to Dan.
I believe he was no relation to Dan. I believe he was like their linebacker defensive backs coach last year.
Yeah.
So they promoted him, but then they also Kyle, who also did they bring
Did
in?
they not also add Brandon Staley to the
did,
staff as a
they added him as a defensive assistant, something.
Possibly even assistant head coach.
Yeah.
Where is he?
Yeah.
What did they? What was that technical wording on that? What was the wording on it, Tom?
The wording was
a prominent defensive advisor or something.
Prominent staff role, possibly assistant head coach. Yeah, so it hasn't been officially announced, probably,
but not as new defensive coordinator. So he's just going to advise the defensive coordinator, which is basically, which I said,
super smart because you can't beat the Chiefs, so you're going to bring in the guy
who also can't beat the Chiefs.
Could not beat the Chiefs, slow them down at any point whatsoever. So
when he was paid to, by the way, with the defense that was built for him, it was impressive. It goes right back to the Shanahan meddling in the defense conversation because he brings in his boy Brandon Staley to tell his his linebackers coach that he just promoted defensive coordinator how to run the defense that he wants to run.
Yeah, not ideal.
Like, if you're Dave Merritt at that point, why would you take that job? And he didn't.
Certainly a good question. Yeah, certainly a good question that we talked about.
Signing a new contract. The grass is not always greener, and you probably just dodged a huge bullet.
Which I think that's hilarious because McCole Hardman's conversation on the pivot where he talked about the grass not always being greener, and he went to a team whose logo was literally green.
Yeah, so that is what happened to the Super Bowl runner-ups, 49ers, and we're keeping all staff in place, so that's good news. They're
just making
that post Super Bowl hangover a little harder on themselves.
Retired.
We lost one of Steve Spagnuolo's
the outside linebacker coach.
Yes,
because we have outside linebackers in a 4-3 scheme, right?
Long time assistant for Spags.
Garrett, do we have to go over this again?
Nah, I mean I get it, but I'm just saying. It's been
a lot of time with Drew Tranquil and Willie Gay. I don't know, maybe. Anyway, Leo Chenal's played well for him too. Look, I get your point, but those are out. We're not doing this again. That group chat.
Are they on the outside though? Just
that group chat made my brain hurt. All right. The last real NFL. Stop, please.
Just ask a question.
Please. We did this privately. I don't want this to be done publicly. It will not go as well as you think it will for you.
If nobody asks questions, nobody gets better. Okay, I'm just saying.
Nobody got better from that.
Nobody. You have your inside linebacker, and typically he lines up
middle.
Okay. The last piece of NFL news involving the Chiefs. Jesus.
We have derailed.
3-4-3 linebacker. I'm telling you, there's a difference. There's a difference.
We'll teach you later. Sorry.
Yeah.
Kyle,
all right. Yeah. No, Kyle, what were you saying about that? What were you saying?
Jason Kelce retired.
Oh yeah. We should have mentioned that. Yeah, we definitely need to mention that.
Congratulations, Jason, on an unbelievable career, on all of the stuff that you've done outside of the game with the city of Philadelphia. That was really cool to watch the city of Philadelphia and that organization show you 100% the respect and the kudos that everybody I think thinks you deserve. I will tell you, that was a hard press conference to watch. I watched the whole thing. It was not fun.
Oh,
yeah. Travis being there as I 100% expected him to be. That was hard because, man, they're not that far apart in age, guys. I'm throwing that out there for a reason.
It's going to be similar a couple years from now. We got to appreciate
what
we have.
One of the really cool little caveats about that was that the post where he got his athletic trainer to tape his ankles.
Yeah.
Interview because he missed his final game because he had chemo.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah. And like
having that little moment with that dude was huge too.
That's what Jason. That's the stuff with Jason Kelce and the Kelce guys, because there's a story about Kelce and his treatment of a trainer with the guy with the Chiefs who he's treated. I think Parker is his name, and if you guys aren't familiar with Parker, he's been featured by the Chiefs. There's been stories done, but Travis went out of his way for him, did a bunch of stuff for him on the side. That's who those guys are. It's not an act. It's not a show, and they didn't do it publicly. That wasn't done to be talked about. That was stuff they do, and you saw that after he got done with the podium. Jason goes into like the main just area, Eagles staff area, and they're all just standing there waiting for him.
Yeah, like a round of
applause. He goes through it, so cool. It was awesome to watch. It was hard to watch. I was not well during that event.
Yeah.
First
definitely witnessing the end of a obviously a Hall of Fame great. He'll go down as one of the best of all times, and it's cool to have had a relationship, especially as Chiefs fans with him the past couple years, doing the New Heights podcast, and obviously just like the Super Bowl last year and everything that
watching him cheer Travis on.
Especially this year at the end of it.
I do want to highlight how cool it was to hear him talk about the last year's Super Bowl and that process and that range of emotions and he's talked about it before, but that you really got the full rawness of it in that retirement press conference, more so than I think you've ever. That was the most raw you'll see a human being. He wrote that, but that was from the soul. That is his
hell of a writer too, by the way. I mean, Jesus,
that's a great joke. That dude could write for a living if he
wants. Shout out to Jason Kelce. Congrats on an awesome career, and he's gonna do something great next.
Lots of things, I'm guessing.
Whatever, he's gonna be a broadcaster, an analyst, or something, and he's just gonna kill it.
I don't see it. I don't really know if that's his niche.
he I think
public speaking not great. Never done anything well in public.
He's not very comfortable in front of a camera or a microphone.
Definitely not
has much to say.
I mean, that's a great thing. He can do literally what he could be an action movie star. He could go race horses in the middle
New Heights clip,
North Dakota.
I don't know if you saw it or not. Him being retired takes New Heights to new heights, bro. That's gonna be wild.
How long is it gonna be though before Kylie makes him go get a job?
Not when that thing's
all the time.
Not when that thing's cashing checks, and go do public appearances and get out of and leave me alone and go over there. I love you, honey. I love you, but please.
We're spending too much time here now. This is not good. So it'd be cool to see what he does next.
He's got a ton of interest, man. I'm sure he's gonna do lots of stuff. They do a ton of charity work in the city of Philadelphia. They do a bunch of other stuff. He's got a foundation. They've got all kinds of stuff. And he's got all kinds of interests. So it'll be fun to see. Like I said, I think the podcast is going to go to a whole nother level with him being completely and say whatever he wants now. The rules are Travis still has some guidelines and some railings and the cheese and whatnot.
He's still got to play ball.
Jason's unleashed.
Yeah. Good luck, y'all. That clip is him jumping through an on fire table looked
like Darby Allin out there for real.
Don't do that, but
that was a stupid spot. I think that was
16 foot off on solid glass is a really
that was pretty stupid in my opinion. But hey, great match with him and Sting. Anyways, that's a great way to wrap it up. To kind of sum up the Chiefs. I guess just like free agency before free agency news. All the kind of happenings in the kingdom, mostly just Sneed and Chris is the biggest things going on right now, and then a bunch of fluff and a bunch of mock drafts and a bunch of everything else. So that's going to be in due time.
We sit and patiently wait and hope for the best. And
and in the meantime, Kingdom Recon draft content soon.
Just remember.
Amen.
So be on the lookout for that on the Kingdom Says YouTube channel. We'll have a new episode going up later this week, pretty soon, probably the next day after this episode goes up or something like that. But there's a lot of cool content coming up. Obviously, we'll dive into the draft a lot here. They're going to dive in way more. They got a lot going on, scouting reports, everything that they got planned. We got a little less than 2 months until the NFL draft. So
it is approaching.
It is approaching. So we have a lot more off-season content for you guys coming up soon.
Second Christmas is coming. It's coming.
Yeah. Be sure to follow us at Kingdom Says Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Check out Kingdom Recon at Kingdom Recon on Twitter. And then you can find all the content over at the Kingdom Says YouTube channel. And then also Spotify and Apple Music. So yeah, that'll do it for this episode. Appreciate you all for listening and watching on this one once again. And we will see you guys in the next episode of The Kingdom Says.